Warning, this podcast contains violence, sexuality, gore, and other horrible and disturbing things. Listener discretion is advised. Also, the hosts of this venture are ignorant dipshits, so please do not take anything they say as fact. And enjoy the show.
Now, are you sitting comfortably? Good. Then we'll begin.
Today we had 15 homicides and 63 violent crimes, as if that's the way it's supposed to be.
It is our basic human right to be fuck-up.
A second plane now has crashed into the other tower of the World Trade Center.
Putting chemicals in the water that turn the friggin' frogs gay.
The defendant shall be incarcerated for the rest of her natural life with no possibility of parole.
You are not machines. You are not cattle. You are men.
We were somewhere around Barstow, on the edge of the desert, when the drugs began to take hold.
Oh, cause Veritatis.
Hello and welcome to Occulte Veritatis podcast. I'm Ood Gallifrey, and in studio with me,
Sage Murray,
Leon Felger, Richard Bigley,
the Soundboard Demon,
Easy Peasy, and Geo the Void.
Just what is normal sex? Normal is a construct. It is arbitrary and ethereal and ever-changing. Today I'm going to be talking about some kinks and fetishes that people, yes, even your grandma, participate in. Since normal is an undefinable moving target, I propose that nobody has quote-unquote normal sex. We're all a little bit kinky, and the variation of what is enjoyed in the bedroom is a wide spectrum of activity. So let's venture into some kinks and fetishes, and maybe you'll hear something that titillates you. But first, let's have some poison.
So, what's your poison?
What's your poison?
So our void has left us to get more poison.
Okay, I think I found my new kink during Richard's start of his episode.
Nice.
The cantina?
No, like planets being made.
No, just
I don't know. Gravity.
Hives of scum
yeah.
and villainy. That's what it's into. I mean, you remember what happened on our second episode ever. It was the Apollo-Soyuz test project. And I got so fucking high that these guys had to take me for a walk in the park because I was tripping my balls off.
Yeah.
So we couldn't do the recording.
And I think
smoked weed that you found on the floor of a gas station.
Yeah.
Didn't
it's an occupational hazard of being a podcaster, really.
Didn't your ex-partner have to come pick us up?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
You were inconsolable. Just like lost in wonder. You were just wandering you were like running your hands up and down the chain link fence and
You know, I'm always for the idea that like laced weed is a myth. It kind of sounds like someone might have actually laced weed and then dropped it in a
Yeah, I was some kind of fucked up and I didn't think I had smoked that much, but I was like psychotic.
Did any of the rest of us smoke any?
I didn't.
No, I don't think you guys did.
I don't remember smoking any
Because remember, it was the bong hit sound effect that we were trying to record. That's why I took that huge hit that's still in the intro. Yeah, that was my bong hit.
I would have told you to keep on going so I could get more footage.
Yeah, fuck, that was a bad scene.
Yeah.
Never again.
Yeah. Yeah, so subscribe to our Patreon. We go through gas station weed for you.
One time I accepted a joint from someone who had to give me, like I was hitchhiking back to Whitehorse because my partner at the time and like his car broke down on the way to a hike on Christmas Day. And so we couldn't get a tow truck, so we started walking back and then hitchhiked, and the dude gave me a joint and I took it and smoked it that evening, and it was I was completely fine, but
right?
I've accepted some questionable drugs for free.
I mean, really, one of my roommates sometimes on a regular basis hands me like a little pile of stuff and says, try this, and sometimes if I don't work that day, I'll just be like, okay.
Speaking of handing random piles out.
Yeah, so we got licorice
glitter.
Lips for consensual whipping. We got bananas for lukewarm dicks. We have frozen dicks. Are these frozen dicks?
Frosted dildos.
Frosted dildos, which are popsicles.
I rate this poison 6 out of 9.
Nice.
It is shaped like a penis, like all good foods are.
10 out of 10, because I haven't had a popsicle in a really long time.
I haven't had a popsicle in a really long time either. And this is like a premium quality popsicle with multiple layers of different flavors to it. So I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10.
It's a good solid poison.
Do you have any kinks? If so, what are they?
I don't know. I got handcuffs on my back. I got handcuffs on the back of my door because, like, I don't know. So, like, one time we was fucking and I backed up on my incense and that shit burned me and I liked it.
Cool. Getting tied up, getting choked out. Leashes are definitely a kink.
You like leashes, like a little pet dog?
Fuck no, I just like being choked out and getting spanked there. And basically, like, the only place that could dominate me is in bed. That's as far as we're going.
Something in public. Something in public.
Public fucking. Okay,
like
okay.
Something in public, like where like you're like nervous, right? Where you're like, shit, I could get arrested, right? So like something in public, I think is like that's. I guess that's for me.
Public exhibitionism. I fuck with that. Okay.
I'm gonna keep it real.
Like a tomato, a cantaloupe.
Listen, man, if it's got a hole, I'm gonna put it in there. One time I put icy hot on my balls to jack off, and that fucking sucked.
I'm gonna fuck with you guys. I got a collar fetish. I like to get you on the sidewalk, right? And I like to make you look at the cars and tell me what type of car that was. You know what I'm saying? Tell me what type of car that is.
Biggest turn on in bed? I think it's gotta be when she makes those faces like when she's getting hurt, you know, when you're giving it to her. That's probably one of the sexiest things, you know what I mean?
What's your biggest turn on in bed, sir?
Titties. Okay, hold on. So back to me, dog, before I got really interrupted. Fuck the big titties. I got ass. Big titties, baby. Big ass. Oh, my man. All day, homie. All day. All day.
I be into that girl fucking.
Lesbian?
I mean, I'm not lesbian, but I be into it.
Girl on girl?
Hell yeah, no.
You know.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes all the shit I watch, I'm like, damn, I can learn a thing or two.
Exactly. Yeah,
Love this.
You know my boyfriends, and if you don't fucking choke me, I'm gonna break up with you.
Weirdest shit, no lie. It's like a math equation, right? So you go horse plus feet plus toenails plus elbows. And you see what you get. Believe me.
Alrighty, so I'm going to start off with fetishes versus kinks. Now, there's as many answers to this as people you can ask. Kind of the line in between and what distinguishes them exactly is very fuzzy. To some, a fetish is something that you absolutely require in order to get off. To some, a fetish is just something you prefer. To some, a fetish is almost on the line with a kink, something that you can have or not. It seems to be a general agreement that fetishes are more significant than kinks. You will get off more readily with a fetish because, like, it's something that turns you on significantly instead of just like a kink that you enjoy a little bit. But the line in between is kind of fuzzy. And also, what counts as a kink and what counts as vanilla is very fuzzy. Like I said in the intro, like, what is vanilla sex besides missionary sex done for procreation? Like, I don't know beyond that what the definition of normal, because even that could be considered, like, kinky to some people. Like, I know some kinksters who have mostly kinky sex, and to them having, like, normal little quickies is kinky to them. It's all very abstract.
Does a kink have to be dedicated to something solely done during the active intercourse, or can you have like kinky foreplay and then regular married people intercourse?
Yeah, I mean, it's just all going to be a part of whatever your pre-negotiated dynamic is. And like, I definitely know people who have said that, you know, they have like vanilla quickies, but because of that, just like the energy and the thought of it being there being a submissive and a dominant, then it still feels kinky, even though it's like fairly normal. And yeah, like kink is definitely whatever you make it. It can just be in the foreplay bit.
Sometimes various kinks can be done in public without anyone being the wiser.
What is considered kinky to one community is not necessarily kinky to another community. I hear a lot from the BDSM community that they consider swingers vanilla.
Yeah, I've heard that as well. Very basically, I'll say that a kink is like a non-vanilla practice. But like, what is vanilla again? It's basically a collection of different activities that can be done in a sexual context or for sexual gratification, but it's a very vague definition. And then fetish is something that is more ingrained. It's something that is sometimes more often required, or for some is always required in order for them to get off. You kind of have more of a dedicated relationship to a fetish than a kink, but again, very vague definitions. Just so I only have to say this once, and just so I can have peace of mind, I'm just going to say this as a disclaimer for all the stuff I'm going into. Take this stuff seriously. People have and will kill or hurt or traumatize themselves or someone else by not taking toys and kink activities seriously. Don't run into the bedroom tonight wanting to try something that you heard on OVPod without doing more research, without conversation, without learning from people who have participated in the kink before. Establish safe words, have talks about boundaries, be prepared if something goes wrong. If there's an emergency, know what you're going to do. Have open and honest communication, be honest about what you like and what you dislike, and make it clear. And take baby steps into a new kink or fetish. Go slow and be empathetic to your partner.
I'd just say, also, even if you've tried something before, then that doesn't mean, and, it's been done safely, you may still have to go back and research or, just because something has worked once before, always do your research. I also think it's great, kink has made it a lot more into meme culture, which makes it a lot easier to talk about, but that also makes some kinks seem less dangerous and really, really common. And so not entering into those lightly, even if you think it's a super common kink that everyone's doing, because they can still be really dangerous.
Bondage, being tied up with ropes, it seems like a very common kink. Many people have injured themselves or died because they didn't do the proper research and they strangled themselves or their partner.
And even with bondage, nerve damage is so common, and it takes it's not immediately present. And so if you're getting tied up again and again, or it can take months for that damage to set in, so it can not be immediately present as well.
Yeah.
They're obvious.
I've lectured you enough, I feel. Please please be responsible, people. But for now, fetishes A to Z. A, asphyxiation. A broad term to refer to the intentional restriction of one's airway. A person who engages in erotic asphyxiation is sometimes called a gasper. Various methods are used. Sometimes a chest is sat upon. Sometimes one would place their hand over another's mouth or nose. Sometimes, against the advice of concerned children's advertisers, someone would put a bag over their heads. It's one of the more deadly forms of erotic play, so proceed with caution.
So do you think that's what happened to Gasper, the friendly ghost?
I think so.
Wah wah.
Beautiful. Flawless.
It's very odd to me that these are the three examples that were included. I include breath play and choking in asphyxiation, and breath play, which is definitely a easier way to engage, as well as cock smothering.
I also want to hear about
cock smothering.
Okay. Okay. This is a democracy.
Yeah, well, I mean, breath play will mostly be to do with choking. So, the most common way that choking is practiced is by pinching off the blood flow on either side of the neck, and you make a V with your hands, so you're not actually touching the windpipe or damaging the windpipe. The same effect can be made safely from wrapping a belt around. It has to be thick enough that you're not gonna dig into the skin. But even I'm wearing a collar right now, you could pull on this and you could constrict the blood flow a little bit. Basically gives you a high, just like when you're doing whippets, because there's less blood flow going to your brain. You can choke until you can choke people out, which should definitely be pre-negotiated and talked about, but you can do so. I mean, it's an edgecore kink, but it does happen.
I ended up declining because I was a baby kinkster at the time, and it made me very, very nervous. But somebody I was playing with said I want to teach you how to choke me out until I'm unconscious.
I've gotten choked out until I'm unconscious.
I was just brand new to it. I was too nervous. I was like, oh, God.
Fair. I did so much research and consulted with some experienced kinksters how to engage safely. Cock smothering is just basically strangling yourself with a cock, but deep throating deep enough that your windpipe closes off because it's going down your food pipe. And engaging in breath play in that way.
Yeah. And like with that one, your breath is also restricted and you're pleasuring your partner, and like it's kind of like a struggle between.
It's also it's also like a challenge that like it's a tricky thing to do and to like to deep throat that far down. And I know that like a huge part of submission for me can be like those doing those challenging things like for my partner.
And it's also why it's important to be like a responsive and empathetic partner, because like a lot of subs out there are gutsy as fuck, and sometimes you have to like watch out for them a little bit because they'll want to try shit, and you're like, Jesus Christ. So like sometimes you need to pump the brakes a little bit, you know.
I mean, sub frenzy is a thing. I'd also say that like apart from sub frenzy, yes, that's probably correct as well.
Yeah. B, bratting and brat taming. This is a more specific, dominant, and submissive role, I think. At the end of the day, I think most brats want to submit, and a brat tamer wants to make the brat submit. So there's still that battle for control going on, but to people that are in this, simply just doing what you're asked is sort of dull and boring. That kind of takes the excitement out of it. I think a lot of excitement for people that are into this comes from the tug of war, kind of like the little battle of power.
It can be a lot of things. Like I've heard, I identify as a brat. I know a lot of brats that like when they want attention, they'll misbehave a little bit, and like that can be a thin line because you want to make sure that that's not the only way you're getting attention. Sometimes I do like to just submit, but yeah, like it can be a way to get attention. It can be like that back and forth, especially that like witty banter is a thing that I really enjoy.
Are you married, River?
Are you asking?
Yes.
Yes.
No, hang on. Did you think I was asking you to marry me or asking if you were married?
Yes.
No, but was that yes or yes?
Yes.
Oh, you bad girl. What trouble have you got for me this time?
How come you can fly the TARDIS? Oh, I had lessons from the very best.
Well, yeah.
It's a shame you were busy that day.
Sorry I'm late, honey. Traffic was hell. You said I got too big.
And now no one's ever heard of you. Didn't you used to be somebody?
Weren't you the woman who killed the doctor?
Doctor who? And Doctor, you're standing right behind me, aren't you?
Oh, yeah.
I hate you.
You don't.
Brats like the challenge of poking the bear, challenging the dom and all that. So something that'll happen is they'll ask for a list of rules, and then the dom will write them out. And they ask for those list of rules just so they can find loopholes in those rules to break them.
Oh, I love
and
loopholes.
Yeah.
Loopholes are my favorite. On the loopholes front, I will also just like memorize shit. One time, one of my partners got home at 3 a.m. and they'd wanted to get home at midnight. So they texted me. They were like, 3 is similar to 12. And I just texted back, I'm going to remember that from the next time that I've earned 12 spanks from you. Yeah. So that I could just argue that 3 is the same as 12. So like those little, like I love keeping track of just those tiny little things to like enrage, just like that loving enrage that happens.
1, 2, 3, you pull your pants up. Hey, we're done here, right? C, consensual non-consent. Now, I want to explain this one very clearly because a lot of people, their alarm bells go off and they jump to conclusions when they hear of this kink. And also it seems contradictory. How can you give consent non-consensually? Like the word itself is confusing to some people. So let me explain it. It's similar to going up to your buddy and saying, "Hey, punch me in the face." I'm totally fine with it. Like I know my face can get punched. Like hit me in the face. Like even though it would be normally immoral to just go up and hit somebody, he wants to go through that experience of being hit. So that's similar to kind of the negotiation that's going on there. Some people get off on being like overcome with force and being forced to do something. And in a controlled setting with a lot of pre-discussion beforehand, they will say and give a signal. Like I have some friends that one partner will wear a bracelet of a certain color if they want to be taken forcefully. And that's the green light to go do that. So in very specific circumstances, pre-discussed beforehand, they want to be forced to do something.
There's also, like, you know, you said under normal circumstances, like punching someone in the face, like that wouldn't be okay. Most kink is like, you know, under normal circumstances, if you spank someone,
Yeah.
or you choke them, like, it's not going to be okay. This is definitely an extreme example of that. One of the best ways that I ever heard kink be described is that it's a mutual agreement. You are mutually agreeing to suspend your disbelief for a limited amount of time, and that, like, you've talked about that, you've both consented to it. And so I think that, like, CNC is a really good example of you're suspending your disbelief into a scenario in which, they're into pretending that there is not consent when there really is.
Humans pursue love and drugs and different forms of escape all the time, and like this type of simulating extreme experiences is just another form of escape. And for some people, they want to be overcome with force, and that's what turns them on. Something else that also fits under this umbrella is if you have an agreement with your partner, say like, hey, if I'm sleeping, feel free to just start fucking me. That's a form of consensual non-consent.
There's also like really small examples, like, you know, as a brat, I'll be going back and forth with my partner and like he'll tell me, oh, that earned you a spanking, and I'll playfully be like, no, and it's like it still happens, right? Where with that brat taming, you're like pretending to force them to submit. So it can be really just small bits and pieces of like foreplay or sex as well.
D, dacrophilia. Now, I've talked about some fairly popular ones so far, but a few of these I'm going to go into an obscure corner. Kink is as varied as the amount of people that practice it. Dacrophilia. A surprising amount of people get turned on by tears. Surprisingly, when research was done on this subject, it kind of had like a wholesome source for the fetish. A certain amount of people spontaneously burst into tears upon especially hard or unique orgasms. And the theory was raised, and they did surveys, and like people were basically conditioned to connect tears with sexual feelings because they've had past partners who spontaneously bursted into tears when they orgasmed. And over time, like, different groups of people started to find like this fetish arousing because like 10% of the population cries when they come sometimes, you know. And
I also know a dom who just likes or is turned on by tears because it signifies to him that intimacy and trust between partners, and that partner being willing to like cry and be vulnerable around him. He also likes licking those tears up, which is just you know,
he earned them.
Absolutely.
E, electrostimulation.
To the bottom part.
Okay.
And it's up against my skin. You can see there's a little metal piece here.
You just put it there in the side of your pants. Then.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll keep it still. Now the electricity is actually going through my body. It's no longer going through one of the bulbs. It's going through me. When I have it on, if I touch you, it actually comes through my.
That's so weird.
Skin. Anywhere you touch me. So we could.
So we're just giving each other static electricity.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
It's like you're in a dry apartment building.
Another like interesting thing is the slinky.
Okay.
And everybody always asks about the slinky.
Yeah, why would you have a slinky with you?
Well, because there's so many areas. The slinky is actually one of the nastiest things in the box, and that's why I like playing that game. Is because people are like, it's a slinky. How bad can it be?
Yeah, it's just a slinky.
But it's actually kind of nasty. It's because it hits you on so many.
All right, yellow, yellow on the slinky.
And now I'm gonna use this. This is a Wartenberg wheel.
Okay.
So this is gonna be
very colorful.
And I was talking about like the more direct and smaller the surface. So this is gonna be a little more intense.
Okay.
Okay. It's not gonna cut you or anything like that. But it might feel like it.
All right.
Okay. You ready?
Yeah. It's still not as bad as. It's not as bad as the slinky. I'm trying to be good about it. Yellow.
So these are just for fingers, and these are kind of not nice either. The more you get into the metal stuff, the less nice they get.
Yes.
So, I can be nice and just rub you.
Slinky was not cool. I'm still feeling the effects of that.
Or let's spin this one around.
Okay.
Ready?
I don't know know why it was. Maybe it was that my shirt was so far away.
Yeah, it's jumping on your shirt. So.
Yellow.
And this one's cool because the whole handle gets electrified. So, see that?
Nope.
Yeah, so it goes through the handle and through the things. So this is actually a flogger. So
Okay.
I can electrically flog you.
Should I go in the corner again,
No,
like
you
before?
can just turn around.
All right, I'll
I'm
go.
not gonna like full out do it, but how's that?
This is not so bad.
But if I actually drag it, that's worse. Red. Red. All right, well, we made it out. So I think we're all done.
Oh.
There are lots of different ways to incorporate electricity into sexual play. A lot of the toys used for electrostimulation are admittedly expensive, so I've only gotten to use a few of them a few times from, like, kinksters who have a bigger budget than I do. But the times I've used them have been really fun. There's one that you would place like a little disc underneath the butt cheek of someone, and this disc would be placed through a machine and plugged into the wall. You could then take any metal object that can carry a current and run it across their body, and a small amount of current would run through their body and produce pain. And you could vary the amount of current by, like, the surface area of the object you were using. There's also things like electric wands, which don't even require, like, you having to have a current run through you. Those plasma globes that when you touch them, it's attracted to you. It's like that, except without the plasma cover. If you get close to the end, you get shocked, and often those devices can be turned up or down, and the device I explained before, they have different heads with different amounts of surface area for how severe you want that shock to be.
Yeah, like I was at a swing club one time, and we were drawn upstairs by the noise of one of these things. Like, it just sounds fucking scary. Like, no one seemed to be hurt by it, but oh my god, did it sound, like, scary.
So it's taking a Van de Graaff generator to someone, is what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
The line for the electrostimulation machine is dampened because, like, the sound of it it's very affecting. Yeah.
We have this in hell too. So it starts with a 12-volt car battery that we've doubled up, a couple hundred of them, and then the clampy things. You just put it on them for a couple thousand years, and you walk away.
Wired in series or in parallel?
You gotta switch it up sometimes, because like if you keep it, because if you put it in series, then you're gonna get a higher voltage and it's gonna zap harder. But if you put them in parallel, you actually just get the same voltage but over a longer span. So you have more amp hours, right? So yeah, it's part of the math that goes into being a tech demon.
F, foot fetish. So this is a
Quentin Tarantino.
No, that's just good cinematography.
Bullshit.
Okay, Quint. Okay. We all believe. Anyway.
Idris Elba, you would think of, we think of Idris Elba as a leading man, ladies' man, but you haven't actually done that many love scenes.
No.
Why is that? How is that?
No, I just haven't had the opportunity. I've done a lot of films where there's a lot of guys. That's not true. Yeah, I just haven't.
That's no excuse.
No, you're right. I just haven't been. How can I say? I just haven't been in a
That'd be a real good movie. Kate Winslet, step forward.
I'm afraid I had to get quite bossy because, so I've done a few of these kinds of scenes before, and so we get there, and poor Hanny, our director, he's such a lovely man, and he was really quite nervous, and he had an extensive shot list, and I'm thinking, oh my God, we are absolutely never going to get all this done. What kind of scene is this anyway? There's like 25 shots, and Idris was. You were a little bit nervous, weren't you?
Not really, no.
Okay.
that was my game, to just get in there.
Anyway, so everything was moving quite slowly, and I'm like, right, look, okay, we need to really start filming this. What's with all this kind of chat? And Hanny said, oh, actually, I'm really kind of nervous. I've never done I really haven't shot anything like this before at all. And Idris said, no, and I haven't done much of it either. And I went, okay, boys, okay. Let's put the camera over there, and we're going to do this, and we're going to do that. And then Idris said, keep your socks on. And I'm like, keep my socks on? Everything else is off. What's with the socks? He said, no, I've got a foot thing.
I've got a thing, just this thing. Listen, I didn't want their socks to come off and they were,
Hobbit feet.
things going on.
This was a moment. This was a moment.
Oh, my
because,
God.
But I have
It's hammer time.
Listen, I've got very, very big feet, and they're not particularly beautiful feet either. I shall keep them. I shall keep them inside the shoes that they're in. Anyway, so I'm thinking, well, poor Rid just doesn't want to see my feet because maybe he just does not like feet in general, and that's the whole thing. It's the opposite, ladies and gentlemen. Idris loves feet.
Listen.
Everyone, take your shoes off.
I can't wait to see this movie.
It's a very common fetish. It's not only associated with feet, but it can be associated with objects that are associated with feet, like knee-high socks, high heels, leather boots, spiked testicle stompers. But if you have a specific foot fetish, your attraction comes from feet being involved. Whether it's stepping on you or whether it's being near them or anything like that. There was a survey done, one of the biggest What Are Your Kinks surveys ever done, and over 40% of them had a fetish that was about directly feet or about something related to feet, like being stepped on, boots, high heels, something like that. So that's 40% of people. There is, counting, 4, 5, 6. There's 7 people in the room. Do 3 of us have something that turns us on about feet? I can't say I'm among that. I don't get much out of feet.
I don't get much. I've had my feet like licked and played with, and it's been like decent. It hasn't like stood out for me, but I've liked it. I've also been stepped on a few times while like fighting, and it's mostly just that force that because I'm a huge impact bottom. That is the bigger thing for me. It's not the actual stepping.
I got a foot job once and I didn't really enjoy it.
Arthur foot fucked someone once, and they seemed to enjoy it.
Yeah, I had my feet fucked once, and it was like okay, but like honestly, like I think there was oral, I guess, on the foot involved and stuff like that. But what usually works is like just massaging the feet. There is a fucking pressure point on my foot that is just like instant turn on. I have no control of it.
I don't know. Like I had a bottom who was a boot black. They got off on like the smell of polishing boots. They always wanted to be like at knee level or below, like just working on my boots.
Were they ex-cadet?
They should have been.
I don't think they were a cadet, but I wouldn't be surprised if I found out they were a cadet. I didn't get off on like them being involved with my feet. I got off on the power. So it wasn't about feet, so I don't know if I'd count that.
I have put up a picture of Quentin Tarantino with a very large telephoto lens about a foot away from someone's foot as his cinematographer is pointing at the foot. And the face Quentin Tarantino is making is definitely not the face someone that doesn't have a foot fetish makes. I don't want to just kink shame the guy, because he can have as much foot as he wants. But don't deny it. Just go with it.
Okay, I've got my foot scenes written now. We create the story surrounding it.
Yeah, everybody knows that Kill Bill started with wiggle your big toe.
Speaking of which, Bill from Kill Bill actually died of autoerotic asphyxiation.
That is true.
Yeah.
David Carradine died from hanging himself with a belt in his closet.
Yeah.
Be safe, practice safe, king.
Well,
have a spotter.
So, like, and with that one, like, how exactly do you practice that safe? Like, without, like, because you'd have to let someone know, but then does it not take away from it? Or is there a safe app these days?
I've mostly heard, like, from people that are practicing it on their own, that they have, like, a friend, like, that's gonna call them or whatever. The biggest piece of advice that I found, though, is just don't practice it alone. Like, have someone else being the person that is asphyxiating you.
My first couple scenes, when I was just getting into the scene, I actually had like a more experienced dom guiding me through, and I found it to be very helpful through those first little bits. Like it's not awkward to like ask for help if you need it.
It's just using your own hand, because then if you do pass out or anything, then that grip is going to be released. Whereas like, if it's a belt that's like hanging from something or like pulling whatever, you're using tension, then if you pass out, then
it just still keeps going. Yeah.
This next fetish is going to be something that Leon has a hard time believing. Gee, there are people that get off on gagging, Leon. There are people that sexually get off on being gagged and having their throat punished and like them almost losing their lunch. Some people just get off on that.
Gravity talk.
Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Leon, one of his worst fears is throwing up.
Yeah.
I think about this tweet probably daily, and it's just this person that tweeted, have you ever given head so hard you have a bruise at the back of your throat? And one of my favorite people on Twitter responded, everything makes me think of him, 4 crying face emojis. And I've thought of that like every single day since my most recent Dom and I broke up, because like, fuck, is that true? Fuck, is that dynamic?
There's a lot of good, like, I should call him memes out there.
This gentleman here with the very smug look on his face with this Snapchat sucked dick so hard that he actually fractured something in his throat and had to go to the ER.
I know someone that gave head so hard that she tore the webbing on the underside of her tongue.
God, I thought you were going to say toes, by the way.
But yeah.
Gave head so hard that she broke the webbing on her toes.
Yeah.
It's called a frenulum.
I used to have that pierced, but then I had to take it out because my dentist yelled at me.
Arthur has one less frenulum than Leon does.
Fact, he does.
The Void is pointing out on the thing, when did you last receive flowers from a romantic partner? In the last year, in the last 1 to 3 years? More than 3 years ago, I've never had flowers from a romantic partner.
I gave you, well, I don't know if we're romantic, but I gave you flowers like within the last week, I thought.
Gio rolls you a joint like on the regular. That's giving flowers.
I don't like flowers.
I got flowers.
I was going to say, I've never gotten flowers, and I've specifically told every single one of my partners, don't you dare fucking get me flowers.
No, I don't want the decaying, reproductive organs of a flower they're just going to die.
Decaying reproductive organs of humans. Give me your dick bouquets.
Yes, I want dick bouquets, not flower dick bouquets.
Filger sent me flowers. That was the last time I got flowers.
I sent him flowers for his birthday.
That was my favorite thing, because Leon Filger came in and was like, I know the absolute best prank to give to anyone. So I'm going to send Richard Bailey some flowers, and I'm going to write a real fruity note. He's going to hate it. And it's like, hold on, you're just literally saying you're going to send like your favorite person flowers.
And it's going to be really nice.
And we asked about the card, and it's like, no, it's just like, I love you a lot. You're my favorite person. It's like, that's just adorable. That's not a prank.
People that get off on gagging often are chasing a goal that is ever moving.
Stabilize the dick, damn it.
Because the more you gag yourself with a dick or with fingers or with toys, the more you grow tolerant to being gagged. So you have to pound your throat ever harder. It's strange because sometimes for people that like to get pounded in the throat, they have to take like cannabis-like tolerance breaks away from throat fucking so that when the next time they get throat fucked, they can gag easier.
I definitely heard the more often you gag, the taller you get. And I was about to think,
That's true.
I
That's
could gain
science.
a couple inches.
Take that to the bank. Tell your doctor to fuck off. Yeah.
I've seen memes that are like, oh, like, you're so talented, like, you don't gag at all. And then it just split to like, yeah, that's my ED. Fucking dark as shit humor, but
fuck yeah,
it does build a tolerance.
Yeah, like every so often I can like stick things halfway down my throat, but then in that same evening I'll gag myself brushing my teeth too vigorously.
That's true, yeah.
H. Humiliation. One partner gets sexual excitement from the powerful emotions associated with embarrassment, humiliation, and demeanment. It can be verbal or physical and can be relatively private or public. It can often be ritualized. It can also be easily carried out over long distance. For someone into humiliation, for instance, being spanked in front of people, the sensation of the spank itself isn't what's getting you off. The embarrassment of you being spanked in front of people and it being a demeaning situation, that's what gets you off, if you're into humiliation.
It's an hour and a half into dinner service, and half of the entrees have been served. With Paula proving herself on the meat station, Ben is eager to redeem himself on garnish.
What's going, Ben? Oh my God almighty. Oh, come on. 3 dory, 2 salmon, 1 chicken. Why is he putting the lettuce in there like that?
I don't know,
It's not
Chef.
even sauteed. Look at the mess of this guy.
Throwing everything in a pot.
You've got a pan here like that, and you've thrown lettuce on top like that. You're shit. You are so shit you don't even realise what you do.
It's like, oh man, Ben, come on. Like, you know better than that.
Hey, come here a minute. Why are you doing this? You just adding the lettuce to the tomato and cucumber. You're not sauteing the lettuce?
Chef, I was in a side pan sauteing the tomatoes and the cucumber, Chef. I did it wrong, Chef.
Yeah, you're fucking up, you're cutting corners, and you're slipping big time. Do you know what? Do you know your biggest problem? Will always be the downfall of your career. You're full of fucking shit. Because every time you got fucking something wrong, you give a bullshit fucking excuse. Well, right now, I'm fed up with your bullshit excuses. Fuck off!
Yes, chef.
Impact.
Impact is a wide and varied kink, but in general it involves one person hitting another, sometimes with just their hand, but often with a wide array of objects. Wooden spoons. I fucking hate wooden spoons. Paddles, canes, whips, flogs, Bibles, and about 1,000 other things. And also all of those other things can be made of various materials that are very fun to play with. Generally, it's talked about that there's like stingy and thuddy impact. And you can like make, even by like with your hand, you can make a spank either more thuddy or more stingy, depending on how you cup it. If you add water, there are lots and lots of ways to vary impact.
Yeah, and like the speed and like the how much you slow your hand down at the point of like impact can like change it and all that.
Yeah, some people into impact enjoy the rush of endorphins brought upon by the pain. Some enjoy being marked or bruised. Some enjoy both of those. Some enjoy being pummeled and brutalized. That one too. Yeah, there's a lot of reasons that impact can be really fun. I've also heard, like I kind of said before, that like doing something for your partner, so seeing how much impact you can take as well can be something that can be really fun to play with, like with sadists that truly enjoy that being the impact top, and all with negotiation, obviously.
And there's a certain like it's not like you just walk up to somebody with a stick and you start hitting them. Like warm somebody's body up and like increase the energy of the hit over time, and you could take them farther than you would if you were just to start at that like a medium energy all the way in. Like there's a way to take people past like their old pain thresholds, especially if that's their goal.
There can also be a lot of like play around the impact that's happening. So like tasks, I was often told from one partner to like count out how many like all of my spanks, and especially with like bratting and brat taming, then when I misbehaved, he would often just text me a number and it would be how many spanks I was at, and then the next time that we saw each other, then I would have to have like that many spanks would happen, and I had to count them out loud because it can also be challenging to like keep count when you're being spanked. So those mental games can also be a huge part of it as well.
Yeah, and if you're a brat, you can lose count or like skip ahead and see if it, you know.
Yeah, or like sometimes if he had a really weak spank, then I'd only count it as a half, and like
10,
he often
10.
complained that his hand would get sore before he was finished giving me spanks because I have a really high pain threshold, so I wouldn't tire. So I'd like make fun of him for not spanking me enough and call him a wussy, and lots of fun.
It's a fun
That's when the
dance.
wooden spoon came out.
Japanese rope bondage, also known as kinbaku. It's a subset of bondage. If you want a more detailed discussion of bondage, go back to our BDSM episode. That's case 55. Japanese rope bondage usually uses non-stretchy rope. Instead of making knots, it like weaves in and out and uses friction to make knots instead of making actual knots. And it's much more concerned with the aesthetic look of the rope afterwards.
Lashes and fraps instead of knots. I took a Japanese rope bondage course a few years ago.
Oh, fuck yeah.
Yeah, learned all about it. Got pretty good at it.
Yeah, one time I had a top that like as he was tying me up, he was like making sure that things are even and that the ropes are the same length, and like we had had sex and probably for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, something like that. And then it wasn't until that point that he actually engaged in that bondage because he wanted time to be able to like tie carefully. He's like, I, like to get all of those like emotions and wanting to tear at each other's bodies like quickly for 2 hours, aggressively for 2 hours out of our system so that he could pay attention to tying an art piece.
Yeah. Eager hunger isn't always helpful, I suppose.
Yeah.
K, knife play. So, this is obviously dangerous. A slip or a clumsy moment could be fatal, but some people like being on the business end of a blade. Some simply use a knife in sex just to instill fear. Sometimes they don't even get close to the knife. It's just part of the vibe of the scene, like the dom or the top or whatever will have a knife in their hand at some point.
Or like a really blunt knife
Yeah.
that you don't intend on, like that can't cut anyone, like a purposefully blunted knife.
Yeah.
It can be cold and simulate that cutting even more as well.
Oh, yeah. Like, there's even stuff like gunplay that gets even more controversial depending on who you talk to, and people can use fake or real guns for that. Some people get off on the terror of being on the end of a weapon, and it can go all the way to some people get turned on by, like, a real knife being glided across their skin, being cut. Again, if you do this, keep your tools clean, be careful. Like, lots of discussion.
I have a partner who she gets, her partner uses like needles, inserts needles in specific patterns. And part of it is that bleeding, like that blood part of the like knife play, needle play. Some of it is, again, breathing through that pain and getting that pattern.
I can't hear needles inserting and not think of Albert Fish. And that makes me sad.
Sorry about that.
Latex fetish. Some people like wearing or to be touched by someone wearing latex. This can come in the form of gloves, latex toys, all the way to someone being fully encased in rubber with only a breathing tube to keep them alive. Some people get sexually turned on by materials, be it fur, wool, leather, boot polish, or in this fetish, latex. Yeah, I know people that even like latex medical gloves, like those black medical gloves, especially. We've all seen those like latex bodysuits as well.
Vac beds.
Mm-hmm.
Being the bad doctor wearing tight like latex gloves,
Yeah.
it's a popular thing.
Monster fetish. Being majorly turned on by the thought of being fucked by a monstrous creature. Sometimes evil creatures or creatures with no discernible form, or creatures that you're not even sure have any anatomy that could participate in mammalian sex are even seen as objects of desire. Void sex.
Flashback to the fucking Bigfoot porn we had to deal with.
Yeah.
That was my finest work.
Bigfoot is the next one to read out.
Well, I was wondering, if that was like, would you call that the monster mash?
It was a graveyard smash.
It was a graveyard
It
smash.
truly was. Nipple play. Biting, pinching, twisting, clamping, applying ice, applying wax, applying tools like mechanical clamps, claps with weights, clamps that connect to a butt plug in your ass. All that's not really a part of nipple play, but we're going on a clamping road trip. All kinds of fun things you can do with nipples. Some like a bit of pain, some like a lot. Some don't have any sensitivity in their nipples, but they get off on the thought of being tortured, and much, much more. Yeah, nipple play. I had a dom that we'd often use clothespins. Those can be applied anywhere. I guess clamps that are used for nipple play often are as well.
I'm trying to pull up some video because you guys went through Monster way too fast.
Sorry.
I don't know if you'll find it. There's this video that came jumping to my mind, and it is this like person in full latex bodysuit, and another like person there, and one was red and the one was black, and the lady just starts like going like this and like slapping her boobs.
There's also a video of a woman having sex with three
pterodactyls.
Yeah, pterodactyls. Yeah.
Hey, guess what I'm about to cast? Wait, can I not cast from the site? God damn it.
The one time you want to cast from Pornhub.
You can cast from Pornhub.
It's not, I don't know. This is Porn Zog.
Oh.
This is Attack of the Flying Lizard.
Off-brand.
It's off-brand.
The Zog?
Porn Zog.
Oh, like you've never heard of Porn Zog before.
Hey,
No.
Google, what is a Zog?
Sorry, I don't have general information about that dog.
Oh, sus. What do you mean, Google? You're fucking Google. What do you mean? Hey, Google, what is Zog?
It's fucking hot.
It heard Zion, not Zog.
No, it heard Zionist
occupied government, or Zog.
So that's what Porn Zog is.
I really
It's
hope
just
it wasn't,
a pornographic version of this anti-Semitic conspiracy.
It was just a video of two pterodactyls. Well, the two dudes in bad pterodactyl suits fucking someone.
Yeah, sounds like a
We've watched that porn.
anti-Semitic conspiracy.
Oh, I realize I need to start asking. My friend and I agreed that we're both going to start tallying this. Who's watched the porn Lemon Stealing Whores?
Yes.
When I get home, I will.
I didn't know there was required reading for this episode.
Do you think it's been about 13 seconds since we last looked at our lemon tree? No, not the lemon horse.
It's like the common sentiment around people who have seen it though is that like you can reference it as, oh, that lemon porn, or like, you know, the obvious, like that it is obvious and that everyone has seen it. So I'm trying to tally to see how many people are familiar with Lemon Stealing Whores.
On that note,
no.
You know what I can cast from?
Lemon Stealing Whores?
Why? Oh, you know why I
It's
can't?
actually really hard to find.
What about Debbie Does Dallas? Everyone's seen that one.
Yeah, I've seen that one.
It's hard to find. Fuck off.
Haley.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad that our lemon tree finally grew
Me too.
and sprouted fruitful lemony lemons.
I know. Me too. I mean, imagine. We can make lemonade, key lemon pie,
He's trying
lemon
so
meringue
hard
pie.
to pick a lemon.
I think it's the most valuable property that we have.
I do agree. I think we should go to the bank and get a loan. Actually, I think we should just get lemon tree insurance.
I think you're right.
And then get a loan and use the lemon tree as collateral because it is now insured. I truly do love our lemon tree.
Just imagine a life full of lemon trees.
I know. And all our beautiful lemons.
Endless possibilities.
This bitch loves lemons.
They're so beautiful.
I wish I was a
Yeah.
lemon.
You wish you were a lemon? If you were a lemon, I would put you on my shelf and cherish you like I cherish all our lemons.
That's so beautiful.
I try.
But I only hope that the whores aren't stealing our lemons. You know, those naughty whores always steal lemons.
We do have a couple lemon whores in this community.
Those damn lemon-stealing whores.
Because no one will take our prized lemons from us.
Hey, has it been about 10 seconds since we looked at our lemon tree?
It has been about 10 seconds till we looked at a lemon tree.
Hey, what the fuck? It's a...
I'm watching this when I get home.
If they take all the lemons, all they'll have will be just a cold glass of turnip juice.
No, that's hot.
Orgasm control.
Edging?
It can be. Yeah. So controlling the frequency and timing of one's orgasms. It can be in the form of making your partner come repeatedly until they are nearly delirious and having an out-of-body experience, all the way to edging your partner for hours but never letting them come. I was often like instructed, you know, you have to like watch this porn and you have to wait until this long, or you have to edge for this long. I actually, in one of my dynamics, had a rule that I had to edge every single day for 10 minutes, and then only after that would my partner like decide
that you were allowed.
That I was allowed to come. Orgasm control can also be, I think it's one of those most commonly things played with when people talk about a 24/7 dynamic. And there's a lot of discussion on what actually qualifies, but like kink is whatever you make it a 24/7 dynamic. But I've had rules with partners that I'm not allowed to orgasm without their permission, and usually it will oftentimes I would be given that permission more often than not, but it was just about that control, about that like having to ask, and that the energy that makes it dominant and submissive. And so because it was a 24/7 rule, then you could consider that being in a 24/7 dynamic, which a lot of times when that's talked about, people imagine like a slave master person being locked up, you know, those kind of things, when there's lots of ways to play with 24/7 as well.
Right. Yeah.
There's lots of cool people in the kink community, but there's also a lot of like people that get gatekeepy about it. I think it's easier to be more inclusive. I think people can choose for themselves mostly like how they want to identify their kinks. Yeah.
Downside to orgasm control, if you then are no longer with that partner, sometimes it can be a really long time to get to the point where you can orgasm on your own again. Play safely with orgasm control, kids.
Yeah, operant conditioning works even on humans. Yeah.
Maybe especially on humans?
Yeah.
You guys are easy to control.
Penis torture.
Yeah.
Quite literally what's on the tin.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's being stepped on with heels, sometimes it's being pinched or slapped or squeezed, sometimes it's being hit with various impact toys, sometimes it's being compacted between two metal plates, being twisted tighter and tighter, laying the penis out like a flatworm on a microscope slide. Some people like to have their dick hurt. Get over it.
Filker looks absolutely repulsed.
Oh, God.
I love you, man.
I love you too, but no.
I know.
It's kind of just a very specific, like not necessarily subset of impact, but probably, I mean, I can't really say, but that same like pain, pleasure, this is just a really obvious. I think some of it also can be that mental humiliation for some people though as well.
I'm not a masochist in the slightest. I hate all pain.
Well, see, that's the cool thing about kink being complicated. Like, you could not enjoy pain at all. You could totally dislike pain, but you get off on the degradation.
Degradation.
That's the one. That word that's easy to say.
I have a friend, sorry to interrupt. I have a friend that hates pain, is one of the like most edgecore kinky people I know, which like once again doesn't mean that they're, you know, supreme in their kink, whatever, but like has daydreams of, or like fantasies of getting their fingers smashed to bits and pieces with a hammer and like hates pain, absolutely despises pain.
It just reminds me of, shout back to the Ukrainian murders one we did. Dnipropetrovsk maniacs. Yeah, that one. Because that used to be, was it 3 guys, 1 hammer?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to do tales from the early internet at some point. Go over all those like gore.com video that like traumatize us all.
Top Girl, Goatsy,
Pain Olympics,
Meat Spade.
2 girls, 1 cup.
Oh, Meat Spade is almost not in there anymore. So.
Queening. This is where someone of any gender straddles the face of a bottom and grinds their genitals against their face. The bottom's job is to basically just be a surface to be grinded upon. The person on the top has a dick, like maybe it involves like the dick being down the bottom's throat, but basically they're acting like an object to be grinded upon.
Sounds
I am
lovely.
just 3 holes. That is the sole reason I exist.
Yeah, that reminds me of like TikTok memes. It's like your therapist saying like, what do you say when somebody tells you don't deserve respect? I'm just a hole, sir. No.
I am 3 holes. I'm better than just 1 hole.
True. Role play. Regardless of acting ability, some people like to play out scenarios in the bedroom. This can often incorporate costumes, setting a scene, taking on different identities, and acting out that scene. A common form you hear about is couples who pretend not to know each other, meeting at the bar for the first time, and quote-unquote seducing each other and fucking for the first time. This is stuff you see more often in like more vanilla circles, like people dressing up like schoolgirls or nuns or police people or whatever. And, you know, a lot of people like to take on different roles if just for a time to kind of like escape and enhance the experience.
Personally, I go too smooth-brained during sex to be able to do any role play whatsoever. Like, I literally just become 3 holes. They're just like, you fucking have to use me because there's nothing in my brain.
My brain too smooth. Your insults that right off.
No, I'm sort of with you there. Like, there's people who like really get off on role playing and like doing the improvisation thing. I just feel like I'm buffering.
You also play prodigious amounts of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
And compartmentalization is good, but I can't imagine it's perfect. And I can just imagine being in a group and just being like, all right, you go into the tower and oops, you're all in bondage. It's like, oh, wait, shit, wrong one.
Obviously, I rolled a dex save to escape the rope.
Can I roll a con save to not come? Oh, hey.
Critical fail.
Would that be con? Would that be con?
Yes,
or...
that'd be con. What else would it be? How do you not come?
You hold on to your cum with your will.
Do you think it's a whiz save? You're wrong. Just accept the demons are better at D&D.
Okay. I accept.
Okay.
Sounding is the kink of putting a metal rod into someone's urethra. The urethra passes through many bundles of internal nerves that often aren't accessible by external stimulation. It can also stimulate the prostate if the sounding rod is inserted deeply enough. For some, it's painful and that's the point. For some, it's pleasurable and that's the point. Either way, there's a point.
I have put a video of sounding on the screen.
Hey, editing Ood here. Just for context, we're watching a video of a man. He's in a hard hat, and he seems to be in work clothes, and there's a hole in the ground that's about man-sized, and he just goes into it feet first with his arms beside him and just slips into the hole, and nobody knows what this video is, or if it's fake, or if he got back up, and it seems like a death sentence. And you couldn't pay me enough money to crawl into that fucking hole.
Nope.
I would fear death.
He's banking on his pressure on the wall to like keep him from falling down. So it's like a nice air buffer. Getting down seems to be the issue. How the fuck am I getting back up
That's
again?
what I was wondering. How do you get back up?
Best part is Reddit, which normally has all the answers, has 0 answers, and it's been up for like 12 hours. And they're like, we have no idea what the fuck the guy's doing, how he's getting out, why is he in the hole?
That's how you do it. You fill the hole up with water. No, that might not work. I was going to say that I had a stupider idea before, which was like send the water down to the guy and then he can pee until the water level rise. I'm just like, you can just pour water in. Why would that middle step is anyway.
As someone who has urinary problems and has to catheterize fairly often, this idea of sounding for sexual purposes is completely whack to me. Because like catheters are nothing but pain.
I do have a friend who has a friend that has like a very damaged urethra because of a lot of sounding and some sketchy sounding practices.
Arthur has at one time inserted a piece of wire that was turned at the end so that it was smooth, all the way into the prostate and came back out with seminal fluid on it.
That's why even if you're experienced and even if you're doing it with somebody you've done it a lot before, it's always good to like watch out for your partner and also watch out for yourself. Because sometimes associating like pain with pleasure can push your bodies to places that might cause it damage. Mm-hmm. So you got to be very cognizant of what you're doing.
Yeah, and I guess just that like pain, like pushing your body, definitely when there are a lot of endorphins and a lot of pain is happening, then you can also like lose track of what a safe limit is as well. Yeah. Trampling. The phrase step on me mummy has gone mainstream. It seems like more people than you may guess get some thrill from being under the boot or shoes or heels or bare feet of another person. I feel like 3 of these have all had to do with like foot fetishes or trampling.
Bit.
Are you trying to tell us something?
If I had it, I would admit it. I have no. Why would I keep a foot fetish? You caught me.
Red-handed.
Yeah.
There are related fetishes like boot blacking, boot worshipping, but with trampling in specific, you like to be stepped on, often being under the partial or full weight of another person. Feet or boots may also excite you, but if you're into trampling, the feeling of being stepped on is the cherry on top.
Who's that zombie lady from Resident Evil?
I don't remember her name, but I was just showing the fact that you can buy bunny hugs and t-shirts that say "Step on me, 8-foot-tall vampire mommy" from the latest Resident Evil game.
Yeah, it was the tweet that had like 100,000 retweets as like stats. 8'4", big gulp. Like,
Mother, I bring you fresh prey.
You are so kind to me, daughters. Now, let's take a look at him. Well, Ethan Winters. You escaped my little brother's idiot games, did you? Let's see how special you are.
Yes, Mother.
Yes, Mother.
All right, Europhilia. Also known as water sports, also known as golden showers. Some people like being peed on.
It's true.
Yes. Some people are excited just by the sight and smell of urine. Some people like being peed on. Some people like gargling pee, and some even swallow it. It sometimes comes with humiliation or degradation fetishes, but those are not always a part of it. Some who participate in this fetish feel their orgasms are more intense when they have them with a full bladder, and/or they like to urinate on their partners during orgasm. Personally, not something that I have gotten much of a chance to play with, and also personally a thing that I don't have that much interest in, but I've also said that about many things and been fucking surprised by the shit that turns me on.
I never wanted to be called daddy. Apparently I have a vibe. People tell me I have a vibe, so I just get called daddy and daddy over and over again. You know, it's grown on me a little.
When I was first getting into kink, then I was talking about it with my best friend, and she asked something about like, oh, like, do you use honorifics? Do you use pet names? Anything like that? We specifically discussed daddy, and I was like, no, I'm not into it. And then literally later that night, my dom at the time called me baby girl, like tested it out, and like happened a few times, and then I tested out daddy, and like ever since it's just been a daddy surge, a constant daddy surge.
Yeah.
I've had a pee fetish for as long as I've been aware of my sexuality.
Interesting.
Like getting pissed on in the shower is the penultimate moment of like the sexual spectrum for me.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Huh.
Not asking you to do it.
I know what to give you for your birthday.
Since we share a thin wall, I like knowing what's going on back there.
Vampire/blood. Two different fetishes here. One is sort of like the one that we talked about before, a monster fetish for undead corpses who want to eat you. But the other is most often, but not always separate, a blood fetish. Blood fetishes aren't always sexual. Some people like cutting skin and drawing blood, sometimes collecting and drinking it. Every kink and fetish has some risk associated with it, but this more than others. A couple months ago, there was a house that was like put up on realtor whatever marketing, and like it was all vampired the fuck out. There was like a crypt in the back. The basement was just like black flooring and then nothing, like there was no furniture in the basement, and it was so obvious that had been a sex dungeon that like they had to clear everything out to take pictures of the house in order to sell it. I don't know why, if you have a house that specialized, you would ever be selling it, because like it was vampired the fuck out.
It seems like you have some rope holds just in the wall. What are those about? Oh,
Pictures.
there's a big like high stress hook hanging from the ceiling. What do you do with that? Like,
a large part of my sexual awakening was like vampire related shit. It started with like that a Digimon actually.
Is it Myotismon?
I think, isn't it?
Digi-destined! Your journey ends here.
That's it! That's the thing Devimon was talking to!
He's not a thing, he's Lord Myotismon! Myotismon? It's Lord Myotismon!
These Digi-destined are making me feel a little batty. Grizzly wing!
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It was a whole, like, yeah, I guess getting kidnapped, getting bit and shit. I was into biting for a while, but then I read, like, a shit ton of Christopher Pike novels, which is just more of that.
Myotismon is a DILF, I'll admit that. Look at that. Look at so handsome. Look at that.
Yeah.
Fuck, I don't know my fractions, but I remembered Myotismon. Wax. Sometimes for pain, sometimes for aesthetic beauty, sometimes for the comfort of wax, sometimes a combination of all three. Wax plays a kink where you drip specialized kink wax onto a subject. Now, if you're a more advanced player and you decide that you want to try something beyond kink wax, you can experiment, but do your research. Cheap candles can burn hot as fuck and easily cause second or third degree burns. Make sure you know what your candles are made out of, and make sure that you go slow. Use a little bit at first, because even though it seems harmless and it seems playful, if you use the wrong candle, you can cause severe burns. But again, this is one that is often associated with aesthetics. Like, people like dripping different colored candles and making like their subject into an art project at the bottom. Sometimes they're designs. Sometimes like the art piece itself is just encasing somebody in a shitload of wax. There's a bunch of different takes on it. I think this is one of the ones that you mentioned.
Yeah, paraffin wax generally burns hotter. And then there are kink candles. I just buy 100% soy candles, because soy burns at like the lowest temperature. And so I've never had any problems with that. And it's also like kind of hydrating afterwards as well. And the other thing that I'd recommend is like moving the candle further away and then slowly getting closer, because it has more time to cool if it's further away from the body. Yeah, one of the things that I personally really like about wax play is it's a kink that I can engage with just like solo. I have a really hard time, like I'm a huge impact bottom. I have a really hard time hurting anyone, including myself. So I have a really hard time with like impact on myself, and it's not something that I can like engage in solo. I know that a lot of people do, but wax play is one of those things that I find really, really calming. Part of it is that I definitely find pain like really calming and kind of resets the brain. So there is that piece of that. And it's just like, you know, you're there, you're with a candle. Candles they're romantic, supposedly. I don't really know why, but they are. One of the first times that I engaged in some wax play, there were also ice cubes involved. Gio was talking earlier about, temperatures. So you can play with both those hot and cold temperatures and make them both more intense.
Candles are romantic for the same reason that nightclubs don't have bright lights, because everyone looks a little better when you can't really see them that well.
That's fair.
Xeric kink. So this is a kink that involves having sex with a dry hole. Some people, for whatever reason, like the pain of being entered when they are unlubricated, or entering somebody else while they're not lubricated. They get off on like that pinchy, frictiony, like hard to get in sensation. That gets them off for whatever reason. This can become a little paradoxical, because if you're into it, suddenly you become turned on and might become lubricated. But there's also like, you can do a lot with like training and operant conditioning in a kink context. So you can train somebody to control some of their like bodily processes. I wouldn't doubt that you could train somebody to stay dry if that was the goal. But like Xeric is just a kink that people want, and sometimes it involves oral. Like, you know that when you seen that girl from The Office in that College Humor meme saying like, I'm gonna make my mouth dry like a desert. Like, apparently some people are actually into that. Yeah.
I would like to point out, Xeric does obviously mean containing a little moisture, very dry, including xeric conditions or xeric shrublands. It is obviously part of this kink, which makes sense. It's also a watch company that makes cool, unique, and affordable watches, and a dungeon in RuneScape.
Use code OFPOD.
Yeah, you think that watch manufacturer might become a sponsor? We should check into that.
Hey, we learned about you when we were talking about people that like fucking dry holes.
Would you like to
give us some
sponsor
money?
us?
This is a callback to case 152. This is a subset of the furry fandom. Now, I want to reiterate the things we learned in the furry episode. Not all furries are fucking each other. Some people just like the costuming. Some people like the culture associated. Some people like the lore. Some people just like getting in costume and role-playing. But there is a subset that like fucking in their suits. That's what this is. It's kind of like a subset of role-playing. It's two people dressing up in anthropomorphic animal costumes and fucking each other.
Incorrect.
Okay, I'm willing to be corrected. Go.
Yiffing is furries fucking furries. First off, you would never fuck in a fursuit. Those things are really expensive. You fucking mersuits.
What? Is there
a difference? Yeah, mersuits are way cheaper. They usually have more rubber involved, and they get ripped and torn a whole bunch.
Oh, now I
when
know.
people are spending $8,000 on a mechanized fursuit, they're not going to get it wet. That's just not even dry clean only. It gets dirty, so you throw it away.
Say, Radio Demon, were you accessing Google or Arthur's memories to pull that one up?
Yes.
Yeah.
But in any event, yiffing is just furs fucking furs, and usually actually refers to art.
Would you like to end off the episode with Zelophilia?
Sure. Zelophilia. Something often felt and toyed with in polyamorous or otherwise open relationships. This is the fetish of getting sexual arousal from jealousy. It can come in many forms, such as watching your partner fuck another. It can come in the form of being in an open relationship and wanting to reclaim your partner with sex whenever they return from another partner's house. This can be from being turned on by your jealousy when your partner is flirted with. I don't think that this definitely isn't exactly the same, but I had a partner that we played a lot with like me needing permission to go and fuck other people. That was more like voyeuristic because he liked hearing about it afterwards. But there was definitely that bit of like reclaiming and control over me and like controlling who else I got to fuck in the relationship.
Yeah, and I guess that would be the point of that kink is like you're not getting off on like some people love seeing their partner with somebody else and they get off on like the seeing their partner being pleasured, but if you're specifically into this kink, you're getting off on feeling jealous that's over them kind of thing. Yeah, so that's A to Z fetishes. I think it's been a good recording session. Hopefully you learned something. Make sure that if you practice any of these, follow the rules, listen to the disclaimer at the start of the episode again, do your research, stay safe. From Occulte Veritatis, I've been Ood Gallifrey.
Sage Very.
Leon Filger.
Richard Bigley.
The soundboard demon.
Easy peasy. Geo the Void.
And we're out.
Love you, bye.
Oh.
There's an artist on Spotify with 5 monthly listeners named Zelophilia.
Playing us out, here is our very own Leon Filger doing a cover of When I Fall. Enjoy, and Richard will see you in the after show for a answer to a QAnon query.
I look straight in the window, try not to look below, pretend I'm not up here. I try counting sheep, but the sheep seem to shower off the softest tower. It's 9.8 straight down. I can't stop my knees. I wish I could fly from this building, from this wall. And if I should try, would you catch me if I fall? My hands clench the squeegee, my secular rosary. Hang on to your wallet, hang on to your rings. I can't look below me, or something will throw me. A curse at the windstorms that October brings. I look in the boardroom, a modern pharaoh's tomb. I'd gladly swap places if they'd care to dive. They're lined up at the window, peer down into limbo. They're frightened of jumping in case they survive. I wish I could step from this scaffold onto soft green pastures, shopping malls, or bed with my family and my pastor and my grandfather who's dead. I look straight in the mirror and watch it come clearer. I look like a painter behind all the greats, but painting's creating and I'm just erasing. A crystal clear canvas is my masterpiece. I wish I could fly from this building, from this wall. And if I should try, would you catch me if I fall? I wish I could step from this scaffold onto soft green pastures, shopping malls, or bed with my family and my pastor and my grandfather who's dead. When I fall, when I fall, when I fall.
It's the Richard Bigley After Show, and we got some fan mail here, so I'm just going to read it here. I've got a QAnon-related theory I wanted to run by you guys and see what you think. I think it all comes down to cognitive dissonance. Trump has been caught doing so many things, from pussy grabbing, raw dogging porn stars, accusations of statutory rape and sexual assault, putting Hispanic children in cages, hundreds have actually gone missing, and not to mention all the blatant racism and ignorance. These QAnon and die-hard Trump supporters love him because he made all of the disgusting shit they think mainstream and seemingly legitimized their racism. Deep down, these people know that they are racist, etc., but they don't want to admit it. That much less give up their newfound messiah of ignorance. How do children often defend their actions when they've done something wrong? They'll say, well, Billy did this and that's much worse. So how are these Trumpers going to defend their prophet of prejudice? They come up with ways to make the left look so much worse than Trump. Trump is putting kids in cages and raping women? Well, the left is kidnapping and sacrificing children to Satan to stay young. That's so much worse. And I don't know if any of that makes sense the way I'm wording it. I watched the new HBO docuseries about QAnon and 8chan and had a little bit of a realization. It's probably not a good idea to attempt to think like those people. Thanks for writing in. I hope I didn't read your email and butcher it too badly, but I suppose that's part of the Richard Bigley charm. I also watched the HBO documentary Q Into the Storm. It was really well done, and I believe that Cullen Hoback deserves all sorts of praise for it. If you haven't seen it, certainly go out, watch it. Really, really good. It's like 6 hours. It's a really good deep dive into this whole QAnon thing. Anyway, I do like that you brought up cognitive dissonance. I guess for listeners who may not know what cognitive dissonance is, it's a discomfort you feel when you hold two conflicting beliefs or that your actions are in conflict with your beliefs. So now cognitive dissonance isn't an automatic response or automatic feeling, as the belief holder must be aware that there's an inconsistency in order to experience cognitive dissonance. So, for example, if they don't see their belief as inconsistent, then they won't experience that discomfort. So, for example, let's take a Second Amendment right to bear arms fan who also backs the blue, which is a phrase used by people who unquestionably support the actions of police and other law enforcement. Now, there doesn't seem to be any contradiction in these two ideas initially. However, some rudimentary analysis would show that if the government were to take away your right to bear arms, it would be the police showing up at your door to take your guns away. Would you still be backing the blue while they revoked your Second Amendment rights? Well, of course, if that analysis hadn't been done by the belief holder, they wouldn't actually experience cognitive dissonance. So I think part of QAnon, in my opinion, is that additional analysis on your beliefs haven't actually been done or has been done very poorly, and therefore many adherents don't actually know that they are holding contradictory beliefs. Once you do experience cognitive dissonance, our tendency is to try to resolve this in different ways. For example, you can change your behavior. So if you're a smoker and you like know that smoking is harmful for you, then you would take steps to stop smoking. You're changing your actions to become consistent with your belief, and you're taking the efforts to do that. The alternative to that would be to, instead of changing your actions, changing your beliefs. So now if you take a smoker who holds the belief that smoking is unhealthy, they simply change the belief, and now smoking is no longer unhealthy. Included in this is also disregarding information that doesn't support your beliefs. So like the smoker may claim that recent findings about smoking are actually inconclusive. After all, in the 1930s, cigarette brand Lucky Strikes had over 20,000 doctors recommend them. QAnon adherents kind of get a little bit into this. Trump was to be reinstated January 6th, then March 4th, then sometime in May, then sometime in August. Well, for sure sometime after his speaking tour with Bill O'Reilly. Like they just kind of keep moving the goalposts. They kind of change their beliefs about when Trump is going to be reinstated, even though that's just not going to happen. The alternative response is to try to justify your beliefs and behavior. So, for example, a pregnant smoker may justify smoking during pregnancy by stating that it would stress and harm the fetus, and so therefore they'll continue smoking to avoid stressing the fetus. Now, research in this topic shows that there's many health benefits to both the parent and the fetus during and after the pregnancy for when you quit smoking while pregnant. But the pregnancy smoker nevertheless feels justified in their actions now. I'm doing it, not to stress the fetus. You also kind of touched a bit about that with QAnon, and the whole satanic blood drinking pedophile thing, where it's like, well, what Trump did was questionable, but the satanic pedophiles are so much worse. They feel justified in this now, even though it's just a collective fantasy and completely not real. So yeah, I guess, I say you're right that there is certainly an element of cognitive dissonance among QAnon adherents. And so with that, I'm going to conclude this transmission.